Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the match of the century. In this corner, we have the Springwood slasher, the dream demon himself, Freddy Krueger. And in this corner, we have the menace of Crystal Lake, the man that has been to New York, hell, and outer space, Jason Voorhees. 2 will enter, 1 will leave. Who's gonna win? Find out tonight on this episode of Marathon Me.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Here's the first movie.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Peel that pig and slice him thick.
The body count is always bigger.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
And the fucking trees walked in those movies.
Hi, doggy.
What a story, Mark.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled.
It's just like your opinion, man.
Life moves pretty fast.
If you want your sequel to become a franchise.
37 dicks.
In a row?
I'm your number 1 fan.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Marathon Me with your host Reese.
And Kane.
And we're back for the title fight of the evening. One that you've been waiting for far too long. We are now 11 movies into this franchise. And our 2 main men are coming together. Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees in Freddy vs. Jason. This is something that has been building up for decades at the time. Right when, because both were the kings of horror in the 80s, and all the talk around seeing these 2 on the same film, and the New Line Cinemas, they acquire the rights to Jason Voorhees to make it possible for Freddy vs. Jason to exist.
Welcome to my nightmare.
We're not safe awake or asleep.
Why won't you die? Freddy versus Jason.
Place your bets.
It only took him 10 fucking years to actually make this film exist.
Yeah, it did take a while. It took a while.
They released Jason Goes to Hell, which was an awful movie, but had a really cool ending shot. Then they decided, hey, let's not do that. Let's make Jason X, Jason Goes to Space, which is an equally terrible movie. But you know what? Now, 10 years later, let's actually give the people what they actually want. The only question is, does it live up to those expectations? Was it worth the wait? What do you think, Reese? What are your thoughts? Tell us what you think about this highly anticipated film.
Okay, I have to say, this viewing of the film was probably my favourite viewing yet of Freddy vs. Jason. And I've seen it again 3 times, and I quite enjoyed it. I honestly did. I did not think it was that terrible, especially for what the film is. For the context of it, I think that at the time, if I was alive and if I was a fan before it came out in cinemas, I think that I would probably defend this film at the time, because, man, one thing that I've got to say it does quite well at the beginning is that it hypes you up. The intro is wonderful in the way that it boosts you and makes you excited for what's to come.
It's so incredible, dude. Like, the opening logos with, like, melding both theme songs together, both Jason and Freddy's. It already got me goosebumps. It already got me all good and excited for this film.
Even though that it's very direct and like expositional, but Freddy sort of like bringing us up to date on what's going on and who these characters are and introducing both of them is quite effective. And even though knowing that this film exists for my entire life, it feels, and having seen it many times, it still hyped me up watching it in my bedroom yesterday. And
fuck yes.
And it was something too that I really try and put myself in the shoes of the people that would have seen this at the time that it came out in that context. And I think that I would have gone in with my hopes held high to see Freddy and Jason fight, and then they did, and I think I would have been satisfied. For someone to come out of that and be disappointed, I don't know what else they would have wanted, honestly. Like, what's your take on that?
Like my take on the film, or like how an audience member would have reacted to this film
Both.
at the time?
I think both.
Well, my general reaction to this movie, because like this is a very special movie to me, because this is like one of my like most rewatched horror films. I used to watch this all the time when I was younger. So going into this movie, I was a little bit worried that maybe it wouldn't live up to like, you know, my memories of this movie. Maybe I would have like, you know, enjoyed it a lot less and all that, having like, you know, seen it so many times. But honestly, man, like I'm similar to you. I had just such a blast watching this movie, and one of the best viewing experiences I've had watching Freddy vs. Jason was last night, because
Yes.
I had a ball watching it. I don't know why. I had such a fucking ball with this movie, man. And like, you know, maybe part of it was because, you know, I just watched Jason X like 5 minutes. I finished Jason X 5 minutes before watching Freddy vs. Jason. Maybe it was just the fact that I'm watching a good movie compared to a atrocious movie. Like, sorry, two atrocious movies and all that. But even then, like taking away those viewing experiences, this movie is just such a fucking blast, like, from start to finish. I had so much fucking fun watching this, and, like, it gives you what you want as a horror fan. Two iconic horror characters doing their thing, and then coming together and just fucking shit up. And, like, look, people can make the argument that, like, you know, maybe it takes a while for, like, you know, the actual, like, you know, fights between the two to begin and all that, but even the setup with, like, you know, obviously, you know, we gotta follow these, like, you know, these random teen characters that, you know, like, you know, you can take them or leave them or whatever, but they're not they're not really they're just there to drive the narrative forward, to bring us to what we all want to see, which is Freddy vs. Jason fight. And the stuff with, like, you know, when Freddy and Jason are just doing their own thing and all that, like, all the stuff before the fight is not at all bad. It's not at all bad. Just seeing them just, like, you know, Freddy concocting his schemes, Jason just fucking shit up, like, it's just a ton of fucking fun, man.
I agree with you. And, like, this build-up, like, which I think the build-up has the most sort of bad juju about this film, right, that people complain about. So it's like, we don't want to see
definitely.
these teenagers like get built up and their stories developed and then get killed. But it's like, if you don't want to see that, then have you not enjoyed any of the Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th films? Like,
yeah, it's like you kind of need
essential.
You kind of need those characters and all that to progress the story forward, to see the stuff that you want and all that. It's like, you can't go into an Elm Street or a Friday movie without, like, expecting to see it's just like a group of teen characters that either you don't care about, or you're like, oh, they're whatever. Like, you know, you kind of need to go in and expect that you're just going to have to be stuck with some characters that, you know, either you don't give a shit about or want to see die to get to the stuff that you want to see, you know? Like, it's kind of a given with movies like this.
And I think it's a good vessel to sort of paint the motivation of Freddy and Jason and why they would get into a fight with one another and why they would verse each other. Because otherwise, like, if you didn't have that and you didn't have that build up, if you didn't have it's interesting because the teens serve a different purpose in this film than they ever have. Is that they serve as, like, the bone that two predators are like fighting over, and like, it is sort of secondary, but you can almost take solace in knowing that it's not the main focus of the film, and it's necessary to build up that main focus, right? Where every other Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street is based around those teenagers, and if you don't care about those teenagers, then you probably won't care about the ending and what happens. Where this, like, I think is probably the perfect build up for, like, they work as a perfect wave to push the final conflict, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And, like, look, honestly, like, obviously, like, you know, I'm not going to say, like these human teenage characters are, like, anything to really write home about or whatever, but honestly, compared to, like, some of the other groups of teens that we're seeing in these Friday movies, you could do a whole lot worse, man. You could do a whole lot worse, honestly.
Oh, definitely. I was going to say, it's nice visiting revisiting teens, but now in the early 2000s, and they are probably more hateable than ever. Like, some of them are just awful, right? Like,
they're the terrible, like the fucking like
The boyfriend? Are you talking
the
about
boyfriend? Trey, the boyfriend. Dude, Trey is so fucking funny in this movie. It's so over the top how like horrible he is. He's like,
Yes.
like after he's having sex with his girlfriend, he's like, babe, you know I don't like to be touched after.
Yeah.
And babe, don't let me ask you twice. Like, dude, I was hooting and hollering every time this guy opened his mouth, and I wanted to see more of him just because of how I think I've made it no secret that I love just how awful the early 2000s were, like in terms of media, like just how like offensive and like just how like just bad taste, especially like horror films, like just like how like awful everyone is in horror films in the early 2000s. It's an era that I can't help but miss, because it's such a product of its times that I just can't help but like look back on and just laugh at, you know?
Totally. It's very mean. It's very over the top mean.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. Early 2000s was such a mean time to be like anything that wasn't considered quote unquote normal, you know? And so going back to these movies and just seeing like how cruel and just rude and fucked up everyone is, it's so funny, honestly. It's hilarious.
And probably like that hateable character that is like our first real sort of like kill of the movie. Perfect first kill, because you don't need them to be fleshed out. They are immediately hateable. You immediately want them to die. You immediately want to see them get killed in a brutal way, and that's what happens.
So, and what a first death it was. What a first kill.
Oh, totally. And it really shows just how brutal this film is.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. They do not... I mean, look, they don't shy away from, like, the brutality of this film at the very start. Like, with Freddy's backstory, like, they just full on show him just murdering a child at the very start. Like, which obviously, you know, to those who, you know, like, are familiar with the Elm Street movies, they know that Freddy is a child murderer and all that. So, it's a nice way to, like, really, like, hone into, like, the fact that, like, oh, yeah, we know Jason's evil, but, oh, this Freddy guy, oh, he's just as, if not more, fucked up. Like, oh, my word. Jesus Christ.
The whole film, the blood is turned to 11. The nudity, like straight off the bat as well,
oh my
is
fucking
like,
god, yeah, they just shove it in your face. My god.
It's always shoved in your face, and also like it's a new sort of realm of nudity as well, where everyone has fake boobs, and it's just like ridiculously over the top, and like this feels like a very like porn has touched the world of that this. A movie is set in and created, right?
Oh,
like this feels like porn era, where expectations of sex are just so heightened and unrealistic that now films are having to replicate that. And
oh my fucking
and it's
God.
no longer sexy to show a normal naked person. It has to be like a porn star that is being shown
it has
naked.
To be like very explicitly sexual and all that. I mean, hell, they have a shot of like Trey and his girlfriend fucking for a brief shot, and you can just oh my fucking god! And the line that Trey says, where he's like, "Yeah, fuck me, babe," and oh my god, yeah, it's so like it's very reminiscent
explicit.
of like porn. Yeah, oh my god.
It's because like no longer that sort of like, it's weird to say, but early Friday the 13th films, the more sort of conservative way of showing nudity, that no longer would at this point in 2003 get people all getting all hot and sweaty. It's like whatever. When I can go home and go on the family PC and look up whatever I want to look up, you know?
Yeah, so they really got to emulate that, like, you know, the style of the time, like how like more like explicitly sexual like everything was at the time of the early 2000s. So they got to emulate that into these movies and all that. Really like push the boundaries of what like they would like what was shown at the time, you know, like compared to like, you know, the 80s and all that, where it was very like conservative with like showing off nudity and sex and all that.
And this ties in perfectly to Jason being so much more brutal in this one, and with a much deeper thirst for blood, because sex is more around him than ever. And
sex and drugs as well. Like, there's a lot of fucking weed in this movie as well. I mean, hell, we have a fucking Jason Mewes lookalike in this movie.
One of my notes, man, is there's this character that I kept on thinking is Jason Mewes, that I kept on thinking was Jason Mewes.
Yeah.
And so both same brain mentality.
Oh my god, yeah, dude, it's fucking great.
But like Jason's first appearance, not Jason Mewes, Jason Voorhees, first appearance in this is quite scary and very eerie, and is like it feels like a while since we've seen a scary Jason because of the shit Friday the 13th films we've just watched.
Oh my god, yeah, like, he's actually, like, imposing in this movie. Like, again, like, I mentioned this earlier, it does kind of suck that you can see his eyes, and it's kind of goofy how, like, one of them just looks like just really, like almost closed and all that. Like, motherfucker look like bloody the lead singer Radiohead with, like, one of his eyes all droopy. But, you know what? That's probably my only issue with, like, how Jason's look in this movie, because the rest of it, he looks fucking great. Like, he looks great, he looks scary and imposing, he's fucking brutal in this. He is not fucking around in this movie, I'll tell you what.
I was gonna say that I think the Jason's design in this is great and scary again.
Yes,
bring back scary Jason, good balance of sort of like this zombie rotten aesthetic, but also like a strong hulking presence. That also, because he's so tall, like here it's not even all about like just being like wide and like Kane Hodder's width is what he's got going on for him. But here, he's tall and just seems like a large man.
Oh, yeah, he's a fucking giant in this. It's incredible.
We also see a weird side of Jason that we've never seen before, which is, like, his POV after killing someone. And sort of, like, almost to give us his motivation of why he kills someone. And it's, like, these sort of moments is what I think would get the horror fan quite sort of heated up and angry at this film, is when they quite obviously show Jason's motivation through seeing his mother being like, "Good job, Jason. And remember, no one can kill you. You can't die. Just keep on killing people that have had sex because they should have been looking out after you," sort of thing. And it's very direct and obvious, lacks all subtlety, but it's almost necessary in because this is the biggest Friday the 13th film that they've made so far. The biggest one for the widest demographic, so that people can enter it without having seen any of the others, without properly understanding him. And also, it is the first film in both of the franchises, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, that the antagonists have like a clear sort of motivation and goal other than to kill people here, right?
Definitely.
And for one of them to set out the motivation of one of these antagonists where they don't speak, they have to do a lot of sort of like heavy exposition scenes and like, you know, like imagine like dream sequences when someone is talking to them and that's their subconscious. Like, it's quite obvious and direct, but it's almost what you have to do for a silent protagonist like that also you can't see their emotion or anything. So I feel like that was something that I really hated about this film a lot of the times that I've watched it, but this time sort of enjoyed.
No, it works, honestly. What's it called? Oh, fucking hell, I had a point that I wanted to make. I had a point, but it was completely off topic. It was like something that like I remembered earlier.
Okay, well, with this, like, one thing that's quite obvious with what they're doing here as well with communicating the motivations and that like drive Jason here. One thing that they do is it's probably it's the appearance of Jason that most humanizes him, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Which like it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. It's still like I feel like obviously with like the whole humanizing of Jason, you kind of needed like someone to be the more bigger evil in this movie. Like Freddy is definitely like the big bad of this movie. Like, do you agree?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Freddy is the big bad, and like honestly, when you think about it, Freddy is kind of the worst evil of the two. Jason is like he's like a child. He's got like the mind of a child and all that. He's just like a child or a dog or whatever, just like, you know, killing and all that, whatever. And Freddy, obviously, you know, he is just like pure fucking evil and all that. Like, as a human, like before he was a dream demon, he was just a fucking sick individual.
Yeah, and then, you were right.
With the whole dream demon stuff, he's just, you know, allowed to just go flat out with his, you know, horrible evil deeds and all that. So it makes sense that, you know, you would need a bigger evil in this movie. Now, it is a bit Now, I am still a bit kind of on the fence about, like, how they kind of humanize Jason. I don't mind so much the whole, like, you know, opening of having his, like, kind of mother be like, remember what they did to you, Jason. They let you drown and all that, and you gotta do this to make Mummy proud. Like, that makes sense to an extent, because obviously, you know, we had... you know, those seeds planted in the earlier films, you know, Jason keeping his mother's severed head, and, like, you know, Jason's mother, like, I mean, doing this because, you know, she wanted to avenge her son and all that, and with what bothers me a little bit, not to the point where it destroys it, is that, like, I feel like they go a bit maybe too far in making us feel sorry for him in a way. Like, I'm talking about when they show him as a child, and, like, the dream sequence of him getting bullied by all, like, the camp kids and all that. Pardon me. It kind of almost takes away from how, you know, Jason is a scary villain in this. Now, not to say that it ruins his character, because no, he's still fucking terrifying in this, but... and they kind of needed to, like, you know, somewhat humanize him to make him kind of like the necessary evil to defeat, like, the big bad in this movie. It's just, I think it's more a personal gripe with mine that, like, maybe we could have backpedaled a little bit on the whole making Jason a sympathetic figure and all that. Especially with the whole giving him a fear in this movie, the fear of water.
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's silly. That's stupid.
That's really, like, that's, like, one of the biggest gripes I have with this movie, is that, like, we've seen Jason, he lives for this shit, he fucking loves going in the water and fucking drowning people.
He loves the pool.
He does, though, he fucking loves that shit, and then, like, him literally, like, fucking, like, breaking down and, like, fucking shaking and all that, I don't know, that was a bit too far in terms of making him seem, like, all... humanized and all that. Like, I don't know, I was not the biggest fan of that, but it doesn't take away from, like, his all-around presence in this movie, you know what I mean?
Okay, I agree with you there with the fear of water. That's in my notes as well, that it is quite stupid, and also something that the film took on from Jason Takes Manhattan, because he's also afraid of water and drowning in that film as well. But yeah, and it is dumb, because one of his, like, when I think of cool Jason kills, I think of him walking into the lake and, like, it not even phasing him that water exists, and then just walking along the bottom of the surface. So that's silly. But I think that overall, his humanization and the empathy that you feel for him, I don't think that it does provoke true empathy. I think that it more provokes a bit of sympathy, and you want to see him win, but you don't care for seeing him survive. You want him to win against Freddy.
Yeah, right.
And also the fundamental difference between both of their evils is that, like, Jason's, they communicate from, like, a human being that's been broken and has been broken to pretty terrible, awful places that doesn't justify it, but you can understand it a little bit more. Where Freddy is... he's evil to the core, and there's nothing that has been communicated that he was broken at any point. And like, if you try and think of, like, I can't think of a reality where they could have reversed the tables here and presented Freddy as the sympathizable one.
Oh, no way, you could not do that with Freddy, fuck that.
Because Freddy, I can't even picture, like, being afraid of anything, or being vulnerable with anything. Even when he is being killed, sort of thing, you don't feel for him. And
no,
like, there's no way to sort of do that, I don't think. And that's why I think that what they're sort of doing with this dynamic, they did quite well with the cards that they were given. And I'm quite happy with it. Like, I think that it makes you identify with Jason just enough, but not too much, where you still are rooting for the people above anyone. Like, when Jason is going around trying to kill these people, you want them to avoid death, but it's because you want Jason to be focusing his strength towards another force, right?
To a greater evil,
And I actually quite enjoyed that.
Like I said, I don't necessarily, like, hate what they do with Jason in this movie. It's more so just, like, I don't
You're
know.
like, I just hate you. I just hate you and everything you stand for.
I just hate your opinions. You know, we've been doing this podcast for 69 episodes. Also, happy 69th episode, ladies and
Happy
gents.
69, yeah. Jason and Freddy.
What a fucking movie to talk about for the 69th episode.
I know. Freddy and Jason both in a 69 with one another.
Oh, beautiful. How romantic. But no, like, I think it's mostly just a personal gripe with me that I don't know. I always feel weird whenever I see, like villains that are like villains that like have no, like, virtually no redeeming qualities and all that, sympathize to an extent and all that. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just a personal thing with me that I wish they kind of maybe just like pulled back a little bit on the sympathizing aspect of Jason. But like I said, it's not a bad thing. Like, it doesn't ruin the film for me and all that. Like, I still think this is a fucking great time, honestly.
I think that what they do well, though, is that I don't think that they redeem Jason in any way. I don't even think that they try to redeem him. I think that they just try and show that there's a little bit of humanity in there compared to Freddy, maybe
redemption was the wrong word to use. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, though.
Anyway, this is just me thinking out loud, because I like it. That is what I think sort of makes me appreciate this film more after this viewing.
Yeah.
Anyway, something else that I really like about this film is that it's refreshing at the start, like immediately at the start of the film, to see that this movie is shot with some suspense and mood to it.
Oh my god, dude, this is actually, like, speaking of, like, just shots and all that, this is a really good-looking movie, honestly. There is some great use of color in this movie, like, especially during the dream sequences, especially when, like, Freddy's, like, mentally torturing Jason, the uses of hard red and green and blues, oh my god, I love it. It stands out. This is a pretty looking movie, especially because, you know, like, early 2000s horror movies, a lot of them are kind of fucking ugly. Like, let's be honest, like, they're pretty fucking ugly, but this movie, like, it has fun with its, like, usage of color and shot variety. Like, oh my fucking god. Like, this is actually visually interesting to watch. What the fuck?
Oh my,
never thought I'd see the day.
Dude, I just want to mention something quickly about the year that this came out, 2003. I just searched up horror movies 2003, and damn, this is a good year for horror movies. Like,
oh, yeah?
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which I think is quite good. That is a good remake.
I do remember I haven't seen it in years, but I do remember really enjoying it.
House of a Thousand Corpses, the First Wrong Turn, Final Destination 2, which is
that's a banger.
Yeah. High Tension. Do you know the film High Tension?
I love High Tension, bro. I fucking love High Tension.
And then above all, Scary Movie 3.
Oh, fuck, yes. Okay, yeah, 2003, banger of a year. For horror films, mate, 2003 was just a good year for film, man. My favourite movie came out that year.
Oh, Trainspotting?
No, Return of the King.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I thought the Trainspotting was 90s, so that's why I was confused.
Yeah, Return of the King came out. I mean, the year wasn't all perfect, you know. Nicholas was born, so, you know, it wasn't all...
okay. Oh, your brother.
Wasn't all perfect, but, you know, we got to have a couple of slip-ups, you know.
Also, honourable mention for The Haunted Mansion also came out that year. But
wait, what, the one with Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
That
Disney's
was
The Haunted Mansion, yep.
I thought that was 99. What?
No, 2003.
Maybe I'm thinking of The Haunting with Owen Wilson. Maybe I'm thinking of that one.
Maybe. Anyway, but...
easy to get those movies confused.
It is... I think it's shot with, like, actual weight and suspense to it, where the cinematography and editing is aiding to the horror of the entire thing, which is very cool. And I think that this would have potentially come out, and a lot of people go into it watching it as their first Freddy or Jason movie, and then it inspiring them to go to Blockbuster the day after and then rent the others and fall in love with the entire franchise, which that makes me feel... I love when media can do that, when it doesn't just give you an enjoyable hour and 40 minutes, where it opens up a window that can like let all these other things in that you also get fulfillment and joy from. So I find that very cool. But one thing that I think that I don't like about the visual element of this film is that certain scenes, I think, great lighting, like with the storm, with the thunder and lightning storm, very cool.
Yeah.
But I think overall, the thing that negates this film from, like, I always, like, forget a lot of the imagery from this film because a lot of it is, I think, too dark. It's too much set outside in the night, and it's too blue at moments. I would say the color palette of most of this film, 70% of this film is this blue color palette that makes it all sort of blend in with one another. And if it didn't have that, I think that it would be far more heavily revered than what we have right now. I think that it's far more of a hindrance in the experience than I think people would realize is this lighting issues that it has.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Another thing that I really loved was how they sort of combined the different horror elements of Jason and Freddy and had these sequences with like one of the dreams that Freddy is prying one of the teenagers in. And he's chasing her around like his normal sort of like boiler room hellscape. And just as he's about to kill her, then her chest just explodes because in the real world, Jason puts a machete through her. I love that moment.
So fucking good, man. Oh my god. I just want to say also the fact that like what's kind of sad about this movie is that like this is Robert Englund's like final Freddy performance. And like, you know, final Elm Street movie before that god-awful remake came out, but like, my god, the man, like, and I'm thinking about the boiler room, like the first boiler room scene especially, when like, you know, Freddy gets his kill stolen. He's just having such a fucking ball in this movie, man. Like,
oh yes,
the energy of Robert Englund in this movie is so fucking infectious and so needed, because like the last couple of movies, it's just so devoid of fun and energy that like seeing like this performer just like bring like some really dark, fucked up humor into this franchise is just so refreshing to see. And then like him being all petty and jealous, like being like, she's mine, like, oh my god, like a fucking child. I love it so much. And I love like, how like even before like, you know, they come together in the final fight, they're kind of just like Jason's just like screwing over Freddy and all that by like stealing his kills and stealing like his whole notoriety, because, you know, he brings back Jason because he wants the kids to think that Freddy's back and all that, bringing back the fear. But instead, they're like, oh, this Jason guy, he's the real threat to worry about and all that. Like, oh, I love it.
I like it's motivating me again to want to watch a lot of the other Nightmare on Elm Streets now.
Dude, that was my same thought last night. Holy shit!
I was just like, wow, Freddy is so much fun and such a great presence. Like, I just want to watch more of his sort of stuff. Like, as in, there was a like, it's been a while since watching the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and my take that I remember from the last time that I watched all of them was that I don't like them that much. I like the character of Freddy, but the actual films I don't enjoy that much.
Yeah, and I kind of have a similar thought as well, yeah.
And one of my favourite sort of like moments of this entire film is a Freddy moment, which is when Laurie, who was like our sort of final girl in this, has a dream about the day that Jason dies. And Laurie like finds two counselors having sex when Jason is being bullied on the pier, and then the dude that's banging turns into Freddy, and the woman turns into a dead woman, and the Laurie's like, "Are you coming?" And he turns around and goes, "Can't blame me that she's dead on her feet," and then waves with the dead woman's arm.
Oh my fucking god!
It's really, really charming. Like, as in, like, you know, not if an actual person did this, but it's charming that Freddy is doing it in this context of just how gross he can sort of be and having fun with that grossness and that macabre scenario. So man, it is really making me want to watch those again, and I'm excited for when we eventually do it for the podcast.
And also just the fact that like even though like Freddy, you know, is like, you know, really fun to watch and all that, he's also like genuinely fucking menacing in this movie as well. Like, obviously he's the bigger evil in this movie, but he is fucking menacing as shit in this movie as well. Like, like, oh my fucking god, like he's this literally just makes me want, as we come to the end of the Friday movies, this just making me want to rewatch all the Elm Street Street movies. Maybe bar the remake and all that, but you know, oh my god, fucking hell! I just want to see I just want to see this man in his prime. Holy fucking shit! I want to see Freddy in his fucking prime again. Holy shit!
Yeah, I agree, man. Do you
so fucking good?
Do you like the cornfield scene as much as I do? I really like that scene.
Oh, dude, the cornfield scene's so much fucking fun. Like, obviously, we got the boiler room shit with Freddy. We got Jason getting lit on fucking fire and twisting the guy's head around. The effect is a bit questionable, but it's fun. I like it. It's a fun kill. Which also, like, you know, breaks the convention of, like, you know, most of the neck snapping in these movies being fucking awful. This is fun. He twists the guy's head around a full 180 degrees. Like, that shit's fun. And then, like, pokes his corpse, makes him fall, and then just being lit on fire. Oh my fucking god, insane. As a kid, I would always watch that fucking scene on YouTube because it's just so much fucking fun just seeing Jason just go to town on a whole crowd.
Yeah,
oh my
very
god.
cool. And one instance here that I saw that the film isn't the best edited film is that the stoner who like lights Jason on fire, he just has like a torch appear in his hands in that moment.
Yeah.
Like there's no tiki torches that are close to him, and it just cuts from like he throws a bunch of alcohol on him. Jason gets covered in alcohol. Next shot, he has a torch, lights him on fire. So, so he has this. So he's some sort of magical creature as well that can manifest tiki torches. But a bit of a lame power, but still, the entire atmosphere of this scene is great. And
oh my god,
and it makes me very sad that I've never been to a party hosted in cornfield before. I feel like it would be a lot of fun.
It would be. I will say, there is one issue that I always had with this movie that I kind of come around towards just because I find it hilarious. The low frame rate editing in this movie.
Oh,
the fucking
yes. Yeah.
low frames. I always hate, every time I rewatch this movie, I would always complain about it. I always hated it. Honestly, though, because I'm such a stickler for early 2000s, like, just shit in general, like style, music, film conventions, editing techniques, I love. I think it's so of its time that I've come around to it. I love it. I think it's so fucking bad that it's good. It's not needed. It's not needed. This low frame rate editing. It doesn't look cool. It doesn't look. It's not visually. It's not visually like. It's visually interesting, sure, but not in the good way. But I love it. I think it's fucking funny. Honestly, it gives it a sense of identity, like this film. You know.
I don't know why was that a craze. Why was that a craze?
I have no fucking idea. I genuinely do not know. It's insane. I am so curious. I'm gonna have to research this later because I need to know why so many films were doing this shit in the early 2000s. But oh my god, I'm just really glad that like. I don't know. I'm just really glad that like I came around to that because that was a big problem of mine back in the day. You know, I hated watching scenes in this movie because of that editing. But you know, it's funny.
I want to bring up a slightly different thing, but here's a weird cameo moment. So Mark's brother who killed himself. Mark is the character who he was like one of the dudes that was in the mental hospital and knew about Freddy and he had a brother who killed himself that pops up in like some photo frame and also in like a nightmare sequence with Freddy in the bathtub. Does he look familiar to you, Kane?
He did look familiar. I could not put my finger on it though. Who is he?
I have to say, I am very proud of my being able to recognize people through faces and like connect the dots there because his name is Zach Ward and he plays Postal Dude in the Postal movie.
Wait, what?
Yep, he plays Postal Dude. 110%.
No fucking way, bro. It's come full circle, man.
It has come full circle from episode 0 to episode 69. The Postal Dude is here. That almost feels like an intentional joke that the film Postal intentionally like built into our podcast.
Oh my fucking no way!
For people that don't know, because it's actually an unpublished lost episode, is that our first trial episode of reviewing a Marathon Me film was we watched the film Postal, like based off of the video game, and we then recorded a podcast of us talking about that. And I think it was quite funny. It was a lot of fun, but we probably can never post it because it is so politically incorrect. It is insane.
It's terrible. Like, and it's insane.
Not even from our own ill-doing. It is from talking about this film and recounting things that happen in it make you politically incorrect because of how crazily obscene it is.
There's no way to like talk about this movie without like getting fucking blasted on Twitter for it, because like this film is just it's just everything in this film is just wrong from a political standpoint, from a like politically correct standpoint. All of it's just so incorrect. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to describe the opening, but Reese, you remember the opening of Postal?
I know. That's what I think of when I think of this film. But anyway, the more we talk about Postal, the closer we get to being cancelled. So
we're on a dangerous line right now.
Speaking of getting lost in the conversation, getting lost in every time that I watch this film, I do get lost at one point in the film. And it is when they get to the hospital. It's a hospital, right, that they go to?
Yeah, psych ward, yeah.
When they go to the psych ward at night, and it's sort of like the first major sort of set piece where, like, Freddy and Jason are, like, really present amongst one another.
Yeah.
And I always get lost at this point. I don't know if you have the same experience or not.
What do you mean by lost, though?
I get lost as in I think, why are we here again? What's going on?
I remember it's because they had to get the hypnosil, like the dream suppressant drugs.
Yeah. I know like that, but I feel disoriented. It feels like it comes about really quickly and suddenly, and also the reason why I think it also aids this is that most set pieces that we've seen so far has that really high saturated blue thing, and now we're in a new environment, but it's still so dark and blue, and it's like, are we in a different place? Are we in a new place? I don't know anymore.
No, I kind of get what you mean, and at the end of the day, like that whole sequence really like serves a purpose for it, is to immobilize Jason basically and get him in Freddy's nightmare basically. That's all. And also kill off Greg from Scary Movie. That's also the other reason. I forgot that fucking Greg from Scary Movie was in this playing a bloody rookie cop. Every time I see that guy's face, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, it's Greg. Oh my god, it's Baby Dick Greg.
What a good way to be known in Hollywood for the rest of your career.
That guy was in a few movies though. Like, I can't name a lot of movies off the top of my head. I just know he was in quite a few movies during the early 2000s. Like, you know, obviously Scary Movie and all that shit.
Yeah, you see his face around.
Definitely.
There's a bit of a Jason Goes to Hell moment in here where Freddy now turns into a worm centipede creature.
What the fuck was that? Do you know why that's still a thing?
I don't know. But also, it's the first time that we see Freddy smoke weed. First time that Freddy or Jason smoke weed in an on-screen film. So that's off the bucket list, I guess.
Yeah, that's something else. It's like a bloody worm looking like fucking something straight out of Alice in Wonderland. Like, what the fuck?
And one thing that I want to appeal to here is that I think that in this sort of period of films, with the abundance of stoner characters and a lot of like he gets quite a bit of screen time and talking about being stoned and like being that sort of archetype, is that like it feels like they're there 100% for the stoners to watch this film and have someone to relate to.
Yeah, definitely.
And like I just love that a character being put in there to be like, come on, look, it's you fuckers. And like they're never like sort of like what's the word I'm looking for? They never really praise the archetype of the stoner, even though they're put there for real stoners to be like, oh, it's me, that loser.
Yeah. We're gonna have you guys. We're gonna show you guys some representation, but we're gonna represent you guys as fucking just dopehead idiots and all that. Like,
exactly.
There you go. That's how all stoners act. Yeah, right, Reese?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, like stoner pride, right? And how the pride of being a stoner and being a bit like, yeah, I am dumb.
Oh my god!
I would do stupid things like that.
I would smoke weed with a fucking demon worm. Yeah,
with a demon centipede that then crawls in my mouth. That then it crawls in his mouth again as well. Like it's very Jason Goes to Hell-esque here.
I mean, you know what? It makes sense though, because Jason Goes to Hell did have Freddy Krueger in it. Did it kind of have the Freddy vs. Jason aspect? So it makes sense that this film would give a shout out to what came before.
Yeah, exactly. It's a legacy. It's a legacy reference.
A true referencing a true great movie right there.
And from here, from the hospital scene where Jason gets like sedated and then brought to Camp Crystal Lake, we then get our final battle between Jason and Freddy.
Dude,
so
you finish up first.
They do the classic thing of bringing Freddy into the real world by going into the nightmare, and then grabbing onto him and then waking up and then he's there. And this whole film has been building up until this moment, and I think it delivers. It doesn't go by very slowly, and it's one of the most metal things you've ever seen on screen. And cool. This whole movie, that's one thing that I wanted to say, is that this whole movie is so metal. Like,
oh, fuck yes, it is.
And just like, so, like, it's pumping the entire way through. It's trying to amp you up, make you feel hyped, and fill you with adrenaline. And that's what the goal of this film is, where it's not really to scare you. It's to more make you feel like, I can't wait to... Like, it feels like you need
to pump you up and all that, yeah.
There's something building up inside of you throughout this whole thing, and when it does, and when it comes through this battle, there's metal music being played through the entire thing.
Oh my fucking god, dude! Like the first shots of like Freddy in the real world and like the rock music in the background, and it just got me so hyped up when like the fight was about to begin. Oh my fucking god! Like also like Freddy's like reaction, like when he's like realizes he's in the real world, like that's just like the hint of fear that he has. He's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, we're not in his, like, he's not in his world anymore, and it's just, it's so much fucking fun. And then like the first fight in the cabin where they're just full on going, like Jason slamming him through windows. Oh my fucking god, Freddy like full on just kicking the shit out of him and like slashing him with the razor knives. Oh, it's so much fucking fun, man. Oh my fucking god.
It is really, really fun. And it also here, like, is the shift from slasher movie to, like...
to WWE wrestling match.
Yeah, exactly. A Mortal Kombat fight. Like, that's what it feels like.
Literally. This whole movie's just a bloody Mortal Kombat WWE fight.
Oh, it's so much fun to watch, undeniably, and I think that it delivers. With this scene, I think delivers, and it doesn't rush through it. Like, there's sections and phases to this fight that slowly sort of go on, and I'm just in awe.
There's rounds in this.
That all build up to a final fatality.
You got round one in the cabin. You got round two with Freddy manning the torpedoes and then fighting in the quarry area, and then you got round three with them fighting on the pier. It's fucking great. I love it.
They have different environments for it. It's a little bit like the chicken fight. Very very cool. The chicken fight that everyone's been looking forward to. And,
oh my god, yes.
Here's another thing that actually just really quickly I want to point out an Easter egg that I found during the flashback to when Jason dies as a child, is that when he's getting like sort of picked on and followed and chased by these kids, one of the things they do when they're like, you're so ugly, they put a bag on his head, like a burlap sack.
Oh my god, notice yes! That? I vaguely noticed that, but I didn't put two and two together. Holy shit. Oh my god, yes! No wonder we fucking love this movie, man. It fucking referenced Baghead Jason.
Yes, our favorite Jason. Like it really like it was a nice aha moment of like, oh, cool, somebody cares about this. Like, somebody cares about these franchises here. I reckon that, I keep on bringing this up like every episode, but I reckon the director and the writers of this, they sat down in the Paramount lot and then like watched all of the movies. But they also had to, they got up to part 8 and then had to drive to the New Line Cinemas lot and then watch part 9 and part 9 and part 10. And then all the Freddy movies too, so it was a big marathon for them.
That's a lot of research right there. You know
big
what's
weekend.
Funny? You know what's funny? I just remembered this. The director of this movie. So, all right. So his name's Ronnie Yu, and I knew I remembered that name because I remember watching. I remember there was like another film that the guy made that I really, really love, and I remembered just now actually that this is also the same direct. The guy that directed this also directed Bride of Chucky, which is a film that I fucking adore. I like. It's funny because I actually used to hate Bride of Chucky as a kid because it was way too like playful. It was way too like comedic and also like horror filled and all that. But I over the years I've come around to that film, and this film kind of has some similarities and all that. Where it's like it's trying to be all like brutal and scary and all that, but it's also having fun with what it is. It knows what it is and it's having fun with it. It knows that it's a stupid movie, but it's just having fun, but also taking itself just a little bit seriously and all that. Not to the point where it's nauseatingly boring like Jason X. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very, very good point. And and it delivers, and it delivers with so much blood in this final fight scene. Oh my God. Yeah, when they're on the pier, there is more blood than a fucking cat. Like, they both have more blood squirting out of them than it is in an entire cow. It's insane.
Oh, I love it. I love that. Like, this film. We mentioned this earlier, but like the film has a lot. Like one of the first 5 minutes we see tits, and then there's a lot of blood and gore in this movie. It's definitely, you can definitely tell that how over the top the nudity and blood is a definite like celebration of the genre, because that's what the slasher genre is known for: blood and tits. So it would make sense that this film would go balls to the wall with it, considering that it's a film starring two of the most iconic slashers of all time. So it would make sense for them to go all out.
That should have been the subtitle, I think, of the film.
Freddy vs. Jason, blood and tits.
Yeah, exactly. At least it's direct. It doesn't beat around the bush. It doesn't it doesn't lie. Like, I hate when a movie lies to me.
Same here, yes. I hate it when a movie lies to me about going to New York and then just being on a boat for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. If it was called Blood and Tits, we would get it. And and like on this final pier showdown, like, you really are emotionally invested, I think, to see Jason win, because it's a bit of an underdog story. Like, Jason is the underdog in this scenario because it's presented that he is a bit more of a weakness than Freddy does. And you want to see the underdog win like in any underdog story. And you do. And it's in such a satisfying way where where he rips off Freddy's arm and like stabs it through his chest.
Yes, I love that. Robert Englund's final bout as Freddy, he is killed by his own iconic murder weapon. I love it so fucking much.
That is great. That is for the fans.
Oh, fuck yes. And then also getting beheaded by Jason's machete. Beautiful. Beautiful. Poetic right there, I say.
So cool, man. And then like our teenagers, like final two teenagers, they like live... They
walk off into the sunset, totally not traumatized by the events that preceded them.
Now let's all go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
Let's go home, babe.
Well, they should probably go to the hospital because she has third-degree burns without a doubt.
Yeah. And the guy Will got slashed on his side and all that. So he probably maybe should get a couple stitches and all that.
And also, like, even just to add to how it's like a Mortal Kombat fight, they're like surrounded by fire during most of the fight.
Oh my God!
How great is that? They're legitimately in the middle of a ring of fire as they're fighting.
So fucking sick.
Oh, great time. Such a great time. And I'm glad that I had a better time this time than I have before when watching this film.
Yeah, because I remember the last time we watched it together, you weren't too hot on this movie. Like, you didn't hate it, but you weren't really the biggest fan of it. That's what I was kind of thinking going into us talking about it. I was kind of thinking that you were going to be kind of more of the same, like where you're like, it's whatever.
Yeah, I think that maybe it's like I had this realization that it's like, with a title like this, it has to be ridiculous. How are you going to make it anything that it's like, oh yes, I believe they did what they could have, and they were marvelous. like really feel the emotions of both of them. Like, no, I think that what it promises, it delivers on quite well, and
definitely.
Maybe it's a little bit of like separation from the film has given me time to see it in its context. Like really, like I appreciate it mainly in its context and how it would have been at the time, and this cultural movement that it would have been, and moments like holy shit,
definitely.
Everyone would have been talking about this movie at the time. Everyone would have been people would have been seeing this movie several times in a row. It would have been
most
the
definitely.
movie. And one thing that I'm really impressed by is that like the budget of this film is not that like ridiculously high. Like,
Really?
Do you want to guess what the budget is?
I want to guess like maybe like 20 million, maybe.
It is. It says 25 to 30 million.
Oh wow!
And like when something that I like just forgot about. When I was searching up last episode, the budget of Alien Resurrection, like the fourth Alien film, how there was 70 million, is like this being made for a third of the budget almost of like Alien Resurrection is impressive, man. Is really impressive. And it also made like about 120 million.
Yeah. This would have made a fuck ton at the box office. Yeah. Definitely would have like broken even.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm surprised it didn't make more, honestly. But it's. I think it's impressive for the build up that it had, and what it actually is, and it's sort of it's a nice sort of symbol for all of the slasher culture.
Oh, definitely. I think also this film is kind of very important in a way, is that this is like one of the first like big mainline like crossover movie events. Like you know how like the MCU and the DC movies and like all those kind of movies, they all are about crossovers, having characters meet each other and all that. Like No Way Home has all the Spider-Man meeting, Avengers, all these superheroes, blah 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 blah. Like before all that nonsense like became the new norm, that crossovers weren't like a big thing and all that. Like this was like really one of the only like big crossovers that came out that was like well done, that wasn't like direct-to-video fodder, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that like it's now become a big cultural landmark now, like the crossover movie, you know, a lot of people forget where like, you know, where its roots are, and I like to think that Freddy vs. Jason definitely kind of like is an important film in terms of like the crossover film, you know?
And I do want to appeal to the other side as well, because this isn't a movie that I will be giving 5 out of 5 sort of thing. Like this is I think quite good, quite fun, but then also is sort of like it does feel quite exploitative in moments, of course, as a direct result of like the genre and when it came out.
Definitely of its time,
And also, like, I think that it really, really loses a lot of points for just, like, the lighting and its blue, its sort of blue, somber aesthetic for a lot of the film. That really lets it down, annoyingly. And also the teenagers, you don't really give a shit about. I can't remember any of their names other than when I look up the cast list.
Not particularly.
Like, I forget that, like, this final girl is a virgin as well, and like they're going on that whole thing that like the virgin survives, but it's like you forget that because it's not really spoken about other than at the start. But it's because it's because they had to balance a lot of they had to fit a Friday the 13th movie and a Nightmare on Elm Street movie into the same film, so you don't have a lot of time to flesh out these teenagers, right?
Oh no, definitely not. Nah. But like I said earlier, you could do a whole lot worse, and honestly, like the lack of characterization and like memorability of these teenage characters, it does not hinder what we got with this movie. Like, you know, we go into this film, we wanted to see Freddy versus Jason, we got it, and fucking hell, they delivered, man. I'll tell you what, like warts and like this movie, warts and all that matters is that it delivered on what it promised, and
totally,
and then some.
And revisiting Freddy for the first time in a while, I thought I was in for a nightmare, but it seemed like I came across a dream. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page at MarathonMeOfficial, all one word, and our Instagram, MarathonMe_official, to keep up to date on the podcast. And Hey, if you want to get into contact with us, email us at marathonmepodc, yes, the letter C, @gmail.com. Like podcast without the arse.